Hey guys, Joe Howard here. Listen, today I want to take you through and show you the proper mechanics of stretching your quads. This is probably one of the most overlooked ways of stretching the body because everyone does it wrong. I see people out getting ready for races and marathons and all these different things, and they're stretching the muscles the wrong way, which leads to basically stretching other muscles or causing more injury or more damage to the muscle that you're really trying to stretch out to get the relief that you're looking for or the flexibility. So on the board, I'm going to take you through a diagram first to help you understand exactly why it's important we stretch the right way. And then we're going to go out on the floor and I'm going to show you the actual correct stretch to do. And then you're going to understand, have a better idea of why I'm putting myself in positions of rotating my hips certain ways or doing things on my back to get the proper stretch I'm looking for. So basically on the board here, I drew the hip bone. Now this is a side profile, just like me standing right here. This is like the front of the hip. This is the back of the hip back on this side over here. The blue is like my quadricep, which is the muscle we're going to be stretching. The purplish or reddish color back here is going to be the hamstring, which is the back side. And the light green here is going to be the abs. And then the dark green is going to be the back muscles. See, this axis, or this hip bone pivots on an axis, so this little red dot is right here. It pivots. It's like an axis. It pivots like this. So if I was to, say, pull my back muscles back here tight, it would actually shift my hip back and stick my butt up in the air. So it would pivot like this. Well, if you think about it, at the exact same time as I pivot the hip bone, this muscle is being stretched, it's being lengthened because this one's shortening. And on the front side, the same thing. If I work my abs and I pull the hip bone upward, I'm actually going to be stretching through the quadricep because it's pivoting again in a motion like this. And when that happens, it pulls the quad as this pivots in a motion. So it's important that we have our hip bone in a correct position. Matter of fact, when you go on the floor, you're going to be talking about rotating our hips underneath of our body with a pelvic tilt, because what that's doing already is pulling that quadricep into a stretch position before we do anything with the leg that I'm going to show you guys in the video in just a second. So it's understand the importance of how these work, okay? Now, something I see a lot of people experience is a lot of hamstring injuries. They tear their hamstring, they pull their hamstring, and all that stuff. And the reality is a lot of times they go and get checked out and their coaches or athletic trainers say, is your hamstrings too tight? You got to start stretching them more. And the reality is it's actually the opposite of that. It's not that at all. What it is, the quadricep is so tight. The quadriceps, one of our predominant muscles that gets tight because we sit down. And we sit down, we're pulling that knee into our chest. And when we do that, we're shortening the quad muscle all the time. And actually our butt and our hamstrings can be lengthened at that point, okay? So what happens is this hip bone pivots because our quad is so tight. It kind of pulls us forward like this. And when that happens, you're now going to put the stress and lengthen the hamstring. And the hamstring is already lengthened to a max. It can't go anymore. So by the time you go take a step, you go do something, it just basically rips the hamstring and causes an issue or causes a tear in there that you're experiencing. And that's not the case. It's not because the hamstring is tight. It's because it's actually being overstretched and it's just being stretched more. And that's what's causing injury. So we want to put ourselves in the proper position to stretch the quad. That means that we're working a lot with basically the quadricep. We're working with the ab muscles to help pull the hip. We're going to rotate the hip in this direction underneath of the body as we do a pelvic tilt. So you can see me talk about rotating the hips underneath as we do the stretch. So we're going on the floor. I'm going to show you guys a stretch, but I want to show you this first to understand it. And do keep this in mind because when we get to the hamstrings, I'm going to talk about why this is important to stretch your hamstrings a certain way based on this same pivot pattern. Okay, so I'll probably come back and show you this again just to explain it. But right now we're going to quadriceps. So let's go ahead and step out in the other room and let's talk about exactly how to stretch those quads upright. Okay, so let me take you through the steps of how to stretch correctly. Now, one thing I definitely suggest is grabbing something that you can hold on to, and that's only to basically stabilize yourself. If you're hopping around, the chances to maintain the position of those muscles that we're trying to hold them into is going to be very slim. So at that point when you hop, you're going to find yourself wanting to shift your hips the wrong way. You're not getting the stretch. So I definitely suggest holding on to something. That way keep yourself from hopping around. Now, the very first step we're going to do with this is just go ahead and grab the foot and bring it up to our back, just like you normally see people do. And if you look, I'm always going to keep my knee in close to my other knee. I'm not going to separate it out because as soon as I do that, the lateral quad muscle becomes shortened again, and we're trying to stretch all the quads. So we're going to keep that knee close to our body. And then we're going to do what's called a pelvic tilt. So if you think about that hip bone I showed you guys, we're going to rotate the hip bone underneath the body. So as you see that, my knee kind of comes forward a little bit as I pull it underneath. I'm going to maintain that, so I'm kind of keeping my ab muscles tight. I'm pulling them in and rotating the pelvic at the exact same time. The next step is to use the glute muscle, and I'm going to use the glute to basically push the knee back so it's underneath the body as I maintain the hip bone being rotated. Remember, as I rotate the hip, as I bring this up, I'm already stretching the quad. So now I'm going to try to push the knee down and back with the glute, and I'm going to try to maintain a straight line between my shoulders, my hip, and my knee. So I don't want to have like this, or I don't want to be stretching like this like you see people do. You want to make sure you do that pelvic tilt first, draw stomach in, use the glute to bring the knee back in line with the body and stretch that quad. That's going to give you the best stretch possible by doing a standing quad stretch. You guys, hope this helps. Do me a favor, if you like this video, comment down below. Let me know other videos I can do to help you guys along the way and get some results, and we'll talk to you guys soon.